The List Projects exhibition series historically has offered artists their first institutional solo presentations, and over the last 10 years since its inception has become a signature program. I recently have instituted a special season of programming, 3 consecutive exhibitions that foreground artistic collaborations. So each of these presentations, of which this project's 28 with Shin and Sophie Friedman-Pappas, is the second. Each of these presentations pairs 2 artists who share a history of conversation and fosters their continued collaboration through a joint commission. They also both employ a lot of literary methods throughout their work and use idiosyncratic narratives to develop projects that layer history with fiction and speculation. Additionally, and really reflective of their works on view in this presentation, they share an interest in technical devices for representation and vision, from drawing machines to cameraless photography and filmmaking.
We decided to present a suite of 16 drawings, each of us presented back to back on this steel-like custom display structure that rotate 360 degrees on a central axis. The commissioned steel structures indicate various knowledge productions and systems such as museological displays, archives, storage inventories, public signs.
We were both really entrenched in our own projects that we were continuing for this show at the time, and we found a lot of overlapping points with exploring grammatology and ways of understanding film as language and as reading.
In terms of the terminology of the travelogue, it's a very specific literary genre where an individual encounters certain experiences, sights, encounters while traveling. And I'm interested in that mode of a subjective position or a subjective reality. And likewise, I'm interested in using that genre of historical narrativity or an unreliable subject position to think about a very specific site, which is the Korean Demilitarized Zone. I'm also shortened as DMZ, which is the 150-mile border between North and South Korea. I'm thinking about the site because of state sanctions and censorship, and therefore, how can we think about all these different apparatus of power, such as state surveillance, state censorship, amongst all these different narrators and narrativity. I have 10 salted prints, which is using a technique of using silver nitrate and salt that's never chemically fixed, so the image is always in movement, degrading and fading. The image that's imprinted are 5 different plant specimens found at the DMZ, duplicated and reproduced. Alongside, I have audio transcriptions of different propaganda videos and security papers that allowed me access inside the DMZ, and they're presented almost as archives or documents. Ecotourism has melded with the military surveillance system, and there presents a massive kind of historical amnesia and a suppression of collective sight. I'm interested in this experimental splicing technique to explore how time becomes materialized. The title itself imagines the length of the film as the distance of the DMZ border and the time it takes to walk this 150-mile border at the speed of a 16mm projector.
These works on paper are prologue to the projected text of Deltealed Walls, Necessary Anachronism 2. But one of the 2 lovers from that narrative spends a few days in New York on his way from Los Angeles to Greece. And during his time, he kept a journal or a travel log, overwhelmed by the office vacancies and fueled by a utilitarian desire he wanted to fill those buildings. It was his displeasure with the lack of efficiency of historical downtown that led him to believe that housing a singular function would prove most productive. In his attempt to record these observations, he accidentally predicted the nature of his own death. In this prediction, he also constructed a manual of how to do it in the future. These are those pages. It describes and prophesizes the transformation of a stone building into a gas kiln. And so that's kind of the function of the travel log. So we have that darkened chamber that you're invited to sit into, and the projector is mimicking that often accidental breakage of the wall that lets in light and an inverted image. There's a cardboard tube sticking out the front with a magnifying glass the back of the cardboard tube to magnify the mirrored image from the mirror. It's presenting a externalized film strip made of lined paper, tape, hot glue, Bloomingdale's shopping bag, a combination of stitched material. And what it is a narrative of these two lovers that go on vacation to Tinos in a dovecote, which is a structure erected in order to collect bird poop, guano, in its commodity form in order to use it as fertilizer. In the course of their stay, they become incinerated from mysterious means and turn into a glaze that's then stuck to the walls of the Airbnb.